Good day, students, and welcome to today's e-learning session. I am Ms. Wendy Francisca Xavier Martins, Associate Professor from St. Xavier's College, Mapsa, Goa. Today's session will be for SY BSc students of the Botany field, Semester 3. Paper code is BOC 103, titled Plant Anatomy and Embryology. Unit 4, Adaptive and Protective System. Module name, Adaptation in Xerophytes. Module number 31. The outline of today's session will be xerophytes, types of xerophytic adaptations, and adaptation in xerophytes. The learning outcomes: students will be able to learn and attain knowledge of xerophytic adaptation. On the surface of the earth, there are different types of plants. Plants are distributed in water as well as on land. Way back in 1909, Warming categorized plants into different categories depending upon its dependence and its affinity to water. Today, we will be learning about xerophytes. What are xerophytes, or what are xerophytic plants? Plants growing in dry habitats or in areas of physical dryness are called as xerophytes. These plants, they adapt themselves to dry, sandy, or rocky areas having poor water content and extreme atmospheric condition. Still, these plants survive. These plants survive as they have the ability to live due to the presence of certain special features that prevent the loss of water. These plants, that is xerophytes, they adapt to their habitat. And adaptations of xerophytic plants can be studied under two categories: xeromorphic and xeroplastic adaptation. Xeromorphic characters of adaptation are genetically fixed and inherited from one generation to the next. They will appear in the xerophytes irrespective of the condition in which they are present. For example, halophytic mangroves and many other evergreen trees. The second type are xeroplastic characters. Xeroplastic characters are those features that are induced by drought and dry conditions. They are never inherited, and under favorable conditions, these characters may disappear. Xerophytic features, again, are studied under two categories: morphological adaptation and anatomical adaptation. Under morphological adaptation, we study the root, the stem, the leaves. And under anatomical adaptation, we study the epidermis, the cortex, and the stela region. So the first that we will be studying is about the morphological adaptation, taking into account the roots. The roots in xerophytes, especially in desert plants, are shallow and superficial so that they can absorb the water from the surface of the soil when the availability of water is present. They also show us the presence of well-developed rooting system in perennial xerophytes, where the rooting system is made up of a root that grows deep into the soil in search of water. These roots have numerous root hairs. The stem. The stem in some are hard and woody. They may show us a number of adaptations, like in some of the plants, for example, opuntia, the stem is coated with wax. In the case of equisetum, it has deposits of silica. In some plants, the stem is being modified to form thorns, as in the case of Duranta. In some others, the stem may be covered with dense hair, as seen in Calotropis. In some plants, especially the succulent plants, the stem is being modified into structures called the phylloclad, as seen in opuntia. It may be called as the cladode, as in asparagus, leaf-like structure, as in ruscus, and all these adaptations are structures meant for storage of water. Leaves. The leaves in xerophytes are modified. They can be studied under various headings. For example, the first is called as sclerophyllous leaves. Sclerophyllous leaves are those leaves which are stiff and hard, as seen in Banksia. They can be trichophilous, where they are covered with hair-like structures, as seen in Nerium and Calotropis. The leaves may be small, scale-like structures. They may be reduced, as in the case of asparagus, hence called as microphyllous leaves. They may be soft and fleshy, as seen in begonia, and can be called as melachophyllous leaves. In some regions, dry regions, grass rolls up, and this is one adaptation of a plant. In some plants, for example, euphorbia, it is seen that the leaves fall off, as well as in the case of capparis, the leaves may be absent and the stem does the function of photosynthesis. We have a number of internal adaptations carried out by the plant, and these adaptations can be studied under the heading of epidermis, cortex, and the stela region. The epidermis is the outermost limiting layer of the plant. It may be multi-layered, as in the case of Nerium. This epidermis may be having the presence of a thick cuticle and a cuticle with deposits of cutin, wax, and resins. The epidermis, as seen in the case of equisetum, we may have the presence of ridges and furrows, and it is in these furrows that hair-like structures may be present. The stomata are present in sunken pits in the furrowed region. Even the frequency of the stomata is low. The next layer is the hypodermal layer. This hypodermal layer may be made up of thick walled cells having reduced intercellular spaces. These cells, they provide mechanical strength to the stem. Here, the leaves are reduced, hence the stem is green in color and does the function of photosynthesis. Inner to that, we have the ground tissue, and the ground tissue in a number of plants may be made up of water-filled cells. This is especially seen in succulent plants. Inner to that, a number of adaptation is seen in the case of Pinus. The xylem and the phloem The vascular bundle, in other words, is very well developed in xerophytes. Hence, the conduction of water from the roots to the different part, to the extreme leaf, is possible. In this way, it is seen that xerophytes adapt themselves both anatomically as well as morphologically so that it can survive best in any environmental condition. The following are the references which are being used. Thank you.